Hello, Mother.
Hello, son. Hello, Bill.
So, I wanted to start off with just some questions about your childhood.
All right.
I know it's a long time ago.
Very long.
do you do you like do you have a first memory, like something you remember, like something very early?
Well, we lived in the same house as my grandmother, and we lived upstairs in the beginning when I was born. And I just remember a lot about that. I was very close to my mother's mother, my grandmother.
That was Le Mans.
Le Mans, yeah, and she was very good to me. And they lived downstairs, Grandma and Grandpa, and Gertie and Jimmy were my cousin, not my cousin, be my aunt and my uncle. Because
But they were about your same age when you were born.
Yeah, my mother was the oldest in the family, and they were younger.
Yeah.
So Gertie used to, as I grew up, we did things together.
She was like a best friend in the beginning,
yeah,
almost like a sister.
Yeah, like a sister almost, yes.
So you remember your mom and father at that point in
Oh
time?
yeah, definitely.
So
Yes.
your grandmom let your dad and mom live in the same house.
Oh yeah. Well, when I
Yeah.
was born, we lived in that house, so I guess so. Yeah, because they owned the house there. But eventually, well, first we lived in the house next door, which they owned the two houses, and then eventually we moved in, and they rented out the first house. So, but that's memories I have of that was of Newark and Emmett Street, and it was really a very nice neighborhood, and at that time. And
this was in Newark.
This was in Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it was a nice neighborhood, and I really loved it.
So this was in, what year were you born?
1932.
32.
1932.
So there was still the Depression, right?
Yeah.
So, but how was your grandparents? Were they pretty well off? They were fairly.
They seemed to have money. Now, Grandpa worked for the A&P, and Grandma handled all the money. She was a kind of a crippled from a fall, but she handled the money and gave the money to what they were they were going to do and everything. She really kind of ran the family, But there was Gertie, my aunt Gertie, and there was Uncle Jim, and they were very, very great. They were my mother's siblings, my mother's sister and brother. Yeah.
So do you remember when? So the next one in your family was Ronnie, Uncle Ronnie.
Ronnie, let's see.
Do you remember when he was born?
Oh, my brother.
Your
Ronnie.
brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think was about 4 years between us.
Yeah.
I remember when the others were born. Yeah.
So
I'm not, very clearly, but
yeah.
I do remember that there were, and then there was more.
So after Uncle Ronnie came.
Uncle Ronnie was Uncle Bill. And then was.
Was it Roger or Richard?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I think it was Roger. He was older.
Yes.
Roger.
And
then Richard. And then Michael.
Were you around in the house when Michael was born?
It's at some point there, as I was growing up, and I left and got married. I think before Diane.
Before Diane, born. But you were still in the house when
when
Michael,
the other ones were. Yes. So that's true. It was quite a family.
How did you get along with your brothers?
I thought pretty good. I don't know what they thought.
Yeah. Well, they seem to like you a lot now. So
yeah, they were nice kids, really.
So when you were growing up, you lived in the city. So were you able to walk around the neighborhood, and you knew
definitely
knew people around the neighborhood when you were growing up?
In the school that I went to, I could walk to the first school I went to. When I went to high school, that was up further, but I had to walk up a hill.
Both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember? So, when you were really young, do you have any really close friends?
There were, but I can't remember all of them. Mostly it was my family, I think, because there was a few of us.
And then when you got in high school, you got close friends.
And as I said, Gertie was older than me, but my Aunt Gertie.
Yeah.
But she was always a friend. Yeah, I mean, always with me and everything. So there was no, we did things together. And it got so that I got a little more grown up than she did, even,
Yes,
So,
yeah. So who were you had a couple close friends in high school.
oh, let's see. I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
them.
I
There was
remember you forever would you were sending cards
quite,
back and forth.
yeah. Well, there was quite a few, but people that lived in the
Yeah.
neighborhood there, and well, I got to know Barbara, and who became my sister-in-law. And she was, because she was went to the same high school, high school, and quite a few there, but I can't remember all the names. But Barbara, because Barbara Polito,
Yeah.
Barbara Polito, because she
Polito.
became a sister. She married one
Yeah.
of my husband's brothers, and Marie, who also married another Hullings boy. So these girls became my sister-in-laws, and they became close friends.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice.
So did you like
Julie and Rosie?
Julie and Rosie?
Yes,
It came to you. Yes.
They came to it came to me, but see, they moved during the time, like other people were coming in, because their father was working somewhere else, and they moved with them. But we kept friends. They lived around the block, and we went to Sunday school together and everything. So
What'd you do?
so it was nice, a nice time. It was a nice neighborhood at that time.
So when
that part of Newark was
when
very
you went
nice.
out and played, what kind of things did you do for fun?
Oh, jump
Jump
the
rope?
jumping rope, and some other. I can't remember all the games.
What was
and
the one about skipping?
skipping?
Skip.
Yeah, skip to the loo, my darling, or something like that.
No, there was like a game where you draw chalk, scares.
Oh, yeah, and you
Scare-
had to, and you
Hopscotch.
had to, hopscotch. That's
Did you
it.
play
yeah,
that?
Yeah, I couldn't remember that. Yeah, hopscotch we played, and that we played, and played ball, and just city games that you could do. Did a lot of walking around and all.
Yeah.
But there was always plenty of kids around there to be friends with and to play with.
What high school did you go to dances?
We had our own family.
Mm.
My brothers and all coming up, but my sister wasn't born until I think I was married when she
You
was
were
born.
married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My youngest one was
Yeah.
a sister, and
Did you go to school dances? They have dances.
yeah, we went to Miller Street School, and they had like some type of dancing and things. And I went to Southside High School, which was up on a hill, so you had to walk. I mean, you didn't have transportation for that, so even in the winter, you had to walk up this hill to get to it. But
Oh, that's good.
that was for that district,
So did you like school?
I did like
What was your favorite subject?
Um,
It wasn't phys ed, right?
no, it wasn't phys ed. I good at it.
And it wasn't trigonometry.
No, those.
I
things
heard
I
that you
don't
didn't do
like.
well.
I just love the English and
Yeah.
the stuff like that. You
like history?
History and things like that. Yeah.
Do you remember any of your teachers' names?
No, you know what?
No,
I can't
no.
remember that. I can think of them, but I just can't remember what their names was. It was so long ago, But there were some nice teachers there.
Right.
And this was up on the hill, so in the winter time when we went to school, we were walking up on the hill,
Yeah.
Southside High School in Newark. I don't even know if it's there anymore, but it was nice when
Did you
we
ever
went
break
to it.
any rules?
I'm
Yeah.
sure I did, but I don't remember. I'm
Bad
sure
things.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you smoke?
No.
Did you drink?
No, I didn't like to smoke. I never cared to smoke. I couldn't
Yeah.
get, and tried to smoke, and I just never enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And drinking, really not much,
No.
because maybe at a party or something,
Yeah.
but nothing. It was never a problem with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So just like we're almost done.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about holidays. You remember Christmases?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What did you do?
Nice.
Was there you had a tree?
Oh yeah, we had a tree upstairs, and my grandmother had the tree downstairs, and so it was nice and everything. Now eventually, my father and mother did move away from there, and they got another house. But I was grown by that time.
Yeah.
But the younger boys and girls, they got to live at that. So
Did you go to church with your mom?
not with my mom.
Did she go
Well,
to
she
church?
did go to church, but
She was Catholic,
She
right?
was Catholic. She was raised Catholic, but then she had quite a few children, and it was hard for her to get to church. But I went to this with the church I go to now, you know,
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian,
Yeah.
and Sunday school. Went to Sunday school and everything, which was only a few blocks away from where we lived. And it was a nice little night and a nice church there too. So I got going to that, and that's how it got to be like that.
When did you start teaching Sunday school? Was it when you got older?
Oh yeah,
Much older?
Yeah, a lot older. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when I started, you know, but I helped out with a lot of the things in that area, you know.
Okay, so you got to tell us nobody's ever heard this before, but you had boyfriends, right?
Oh yes.
You
yes,
had
but
boyfriends before Dad.
well, there was one or two, not
Yeah.
too many, but nothing serious.
Do you remember their names?
No, I really can't remember their names.
Do you remember what they looked like? Were they tall? Were they?
No,
what-
we were probably when I
Yeah.
was younger, you know.
Yeah.
Dad, when he came back from overseas, and
He scared everybody away.
no, he came around to see. He knew Gertie and her girlfriend, my aunt Gertie, and I was grown up then. Then I was it was 4 years difference, but I wasn't a kid anymore. And then we got to talking and all, and he'd come around sometime, and in the summer, the people would sit out. And the neighborhood was nice enough where you could sit out at nights where it was cool. My grandmother always sat out because she was crippled, sat out on the porch. And he'd come over and talk to us all, and I got going. You know, I knew his brothers because his brothers were younger, and I knew them, you know. And so that's how we got acquainted, really. And his sister worked with Aunt Gertie, too, so they worked down at the A&P warehouse doing something they did down there. I don't know.
So we talked about your mom's parents.
Yeah.
What about your dad's parents?
They lived in Georgia. He was from Georgia. He came up with his friend to find work up in the north, and they got rooms or something across the street from where my mother lived at.
Oh.
And she was a pretty woman, and really pretty. And that's how they got to meet. How they got to like grandma and grandpa, grandma especially, get married. They got married, you know. I don't know. They got married, and I don't know how they talked her into
Did
it.
they elope?
They may have gotten, and then had a regular wedding, because
Yeah.
there was a wedding of her as, you know, with a gown. But I do know that they might have done something like that, you know, knowing my father, and because he really loved her and all. But he wasn't a Catholic, and you know, he was a good man and everything, and he, you know, worked hard. But then they took grandma, I think grandpa too, I'm not sure. Well, I wasn't born yet, so I just heard that they took him down to visit my father's parents in Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, and that worked better when they got to know them, you know, and they went down for a visit, drove down for a visit. So I can't say no just when they went, but so they did meet them, and so they felt better. And then, you know, they felt better about him and everything. They got to know his family, so.
So you went to visit Georgia too, right? As a kid?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go down to my grandmother's down there. They had a farm. And that was always something I remember. The younger kids in my family, they were too young. They weren't born yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was the oldest, me, and then my brother Ronnie. And it was always nice to go down. I had cousins down there and everything. I haven't seen them in years. And my grandparents are gone, and I just had no chance of ever going down to see the others.
The world has gotten smaller,
It's gotten.
but it was big back. It was a long ways away back
It was
then.
a long ways away. It was, yeah. You know, I had a girl cousin that I was quite close to it. You know, at the time of my age and everything like that.
Do you remember her name?
Yeah. Oh, what was it now? I can't. Faye. Her
Faye.
name
I
was
remember
Faye.
you talking about Faye.
Remember Faye?
Yeah.
And Luane was the boy cousin, you know. But, you know, through the years, we kind of drifted apart. And, you know, my life went one way and their life, you know, I don't know where they're living at now. So it's too bad, but
Right.
it just happens when you're so far apart, you know. But it was always nice to go down. Dad would load up the car and the kids and drive down to Georgia. You know, we stay by about a week and then come back up. So,
Yeah.
but then after a while, you know, we stopped going and Dad was busy, and of course, so I didn't see them later on, you know, that much. So, but that was nice. You know, you have relatives other places, you know, and once in a while somebody will show up that was a relative of Dad's, you know.
That was good. So this was a good session.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to say?
No, that it was
No.
a happy life, and
Yeah.
it really was.
Did you ever think about your mom and dad?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I loved them both. You know, and my mother, she was the sweetest person I ever know.
Well,
And
maybe that's how you got that way.
Oh, am I that way, Bill?
You are
Even
that
when
way.
I get mad. Yeah, she was the sweetest woman. I mean, she just did everything for everybody. You know what I mean? But she loved my father, and that's what she wanted. So
Okay.
that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mom.
All right. All right.